to welcome everyone. Before I do official introductions, I would like to make mention of our media people here, the National Broadcasting Commission, the NBC, we have the One Talk newspaper, we have Postoria, we have Radio Maria. We also are happy to have the presence of the Department of Information and Communication Technology. We have Ms. Joyce Higgins also with us. And then we also have the Catholic Professional Society and the staff of CBC, plus some of our lay Catholic faithful here. Thank you so much for coming. Without further ado, I would like to now invite our speakers to take their seats. Mr. Paul Herrington is the president of the Catholic Professional Society and a lawyer by profession, who represents our Catholic Church in many occasions, and very important voice for our Catholic Church in Papua New Guinea. Let us make him welcome. Mr. Paul Herrington. The second speaker would be the Bishop of Verena Diocese and the President of the Catholic Bishops' Conference of Papua New Guinea and Solomon Islands. We have Bishop Otto Separi. Please make welcome Most Reverend Bishop Otto Separi. And we have the third speaker, who is the General Secretary of the Catholic Bishops' Conference of Papua New Guinea and Solomon Islands, Reverend Father Lawrence Arokiel Branch. Make him We are here because of a very important press conference, and this is to do with the position of the Catholic Church on the constitutional amendments.
We would have the Bishop to do the first, to be the first speaker, but given the background to the issue of Christian state amendment, I will be the first speaker to also cover the background in which this amendment has come about, as well as what the church position was, and I would like all to know what it is now. It is, let me start off by saying that the bill that was, it was passed on 13th of March by 80-4 vote in Parliament. We all know that. And it is not a small amendment as it may be made to believe by people. It is important that our people understand what this amendment is all about and what it means for the country. For us as church, we have seen that it is a major amendment to change the state from a secular state to a confessional state, a religious state. So in that respect, it is a very serious amendment. Now, the first thing I want to bring to our attention is the process that took place to come about to bring about this amendment. Now, there are two processes that, if you like, are questionable still for me personally, as I was involved in the process. First one is the consultation process that the Constitutional and Law Reform Commission undertook. They went out to towns consulting people. And we know that the government gave them, under terms of reference, 6 months to come up with that consultation report. And I understand it took them 6 weeks. They just covered few town centers. And then now they have in the report and they claim that they have consulted over 80% of the people who prefer the country be made by constitution a Christian state. Now, let's understand also that there's a big difference between a Christian state and a Christian people. That's why you see our press flyer, we said, Christian people, yes. We want to be Christian people. Christian confessional state, no. Now that's where you see the difference. Being a confessional state, it means that the church now is part of the state. There has been a separation of church and state, and they only work in partnership. That has been and is until this amendment. So we question the 80% yes in the consultation, and we question that. And on top of that, the churches, especially the Catholic Church, I don't know what other mainline churches, the churches were not consulted formally. And yet, the churches are the custodians of faith. The churches were used just a consultation, open consultation, only for people to give their views. But yet, you don't just go and talk to a common person on the street, or you don't just go to, talk to somebody who is not schooled, who is not educated in the matters of faith. You can still do that, but yet you must consult the churches. The Catholic Church was not consulted formally, officially. We took our own initiative to write to the Constitutional Law Reform Commission our views about the proposed amendments. So that's why we feel the consultation was not properly done. And we also took the initiative to appear before the Parliamentary Committee on the 5th of May. The church turned up with Cardinal Sir John and Bishop Otto as the CBC president. We all turned up before the PNG Paras Parliamentary Committee hearing. So for the church, we went. And then we were accompanied by Chief Dr. John Gomes and Central Kapotin. They appeared in their own names because they are the surviving constitutional fathers. They were involved in the Constitutional Planning Committee that brought about a constitution that toured the country for over 3 years around the country to consult on what kind of country, what kind of constitution we should have for our country. And these two surviving constitutional fathers were not consulted. We realized that they were not consulted, and yet they were here. One was in Brisbane, Momis was here, Kapotin was in Brisbane. Why didn't they consult them? They are the constitutional fathers. So we, the church, took the initiative to invite them, and we asked them to come and give their views before the committee, Parliamentary Committee, and we all did on the 5th of May, 2024, last year. And the other question on the process is that we do not know whether that parliamentary hearing report was presented at all to the parliamentarians when they debated and voted. I don't know, and I don't know if anybody else knows. So we question the transparency of such a process. So we feel that the process was flawed. We feel that the process was not transparent. And even on the floor of Parliament, there was no such thing as consensus vote. All MPs, usually as they do with many other bills, they are given bills, but whether they read, they understand, they all go in there to vote, following their party lines, following the common caucus, whoever is proposing. That's the nature of the Parliament that's happening. And we didn't hear quality debates in Parliament. There was no quality debates. The only voice that we had stood out was Mississippi Governor Alan Byrd. We didn't get any quality debates. So on what basis did the MPs vote? Was it on party lines? Fear of losing their perks and privileges? We thought they should have exercised consensus vote, and there was no consensus vote. I'm aware of some of even common MPs who abstained from voting. Abstain from voting in terms of numbers is as good as not voting. But they abstained because they felt that it was not, because they were in government, they didn't want to be seen as voting against. So the best option they took was to abstain from voting. So that's what went down, how it went down in Parliament for these laws. I think the first two votes couldn't master the numbers, and just the last vote on the 13th of March, they were able to master the numbers 80-4. So as far as the process is, it wasn't transparent, it was flawed. We feel there's a lot of questions. Now, we come to the text of the amendments. We only have the proposed amendments that we saw and that we wrote about, and most of you would have received one of these. So that gives you the summary of the Catholic Church position that we presented to the CLRC and to the government of our position on the bill. It gives you a summary on both sides, you see. But for today's conference, let me give you a summary of what we see and what I see personally. The amendment is totally unnecessary. It's totally and absolutely unnecessary. PNG being a Christian country and the Christian principles are already in the preamble, the national codes and directive principles, and the human rights provisions of the Constitution, including Section 45. Freedom of conscience, thought, and religion. Now, it is not necessary because you cannot, the Constitution is a legal and a political document. Like this. It is not a theological Bible document. It is a Constitution, it is a legal and a political document. So anything about the Christian principles is already covered in the political language. It's written in political language. If you read properly the preamble and the national codes and directive principles, everything about God that we believe is already written, but it's expressed in a political language. When we start playing around with language and start bringing in theology, Bible language, it doesn't become a political document. It becomes a religious document. There's a big difference in that. And you'll realize that our constitutional fathers expressed the people's moral, Christian, political beliefs, philosophies, and views in the political language as was necessary. To have it written otherwise is tantamount to theocracy and not democratic. Now, it is also undemocratic. Freedom of conscience, thought, and religion is an inherent right of every person. Every human person is endowed with free will and intellect. The founding fathers recognized this when the relevant provisions of Section 45 on the conscience of thought and religion were written. The freedom begins in the book of Genesis. For us Christians, when God created man and women, God gave them, you as human beings, the free will. Any changes against this freedom will be ungodly, unchristian, and undemocratic. It is also unconstitutional. It's unconstitutional. The reform provisions already preach Section 45 and the whole intent, purpose, and spirit of the Constitution for a free and democratic people and country. PNG, under the Constitution as it was, the founding fathers intended it to be a secular state, separating politics and civil government from religion and church. That was the intent. It took them more than 3 years consultation. And who would argue now that they made a mistake that you want to correct? They didn't make the mistake. They intentionally preferred Papua New Guinea be a secular state. All matters of secular, temporal matters belongs to the state. All matters of religion, faith belongs to the churches. That was the intent of the founding fathers. The amendment changes the nature of the state to what we call a confessional state. You can call it a religious state. From a democracy to what can be a theocracy. Most confessional states in some parts of the world, particularly in Europe and definitely in England, which once tried such confessional states. Now, some of those, what we have is we have the Jew state, which is a kind of a confessional state, and the Judaism, and we have Muslims and the Islamic, and we have England and the Anglican, which the king now is the head of the church. Those are the confessional states. But still, you find that the extreme ones are Judaism and Muslims. Now, PNG wants to maybe try out confessional state. Faith and religious practice in a democracy is lived and practiced, not legislated, and not coerced by the force of law. Such will be inconsistent with the fundamental tenets of democracy and freedom. Even the placing of King James Bible in the people's house, the national parliament, by the same people who are pursuing this reform, is unconstitutional. For the fact that that's the people's house.
In progress.
That's the people's house. Meaning, you can be a Christian, you can be a non-Christian, you can be a Catholic, you can be a non-Catholic, even you can be a person of no faith. That's your house. And how no that? You want la Christian as well. So it is a mistake, and it is unconstitutional to have the King James Bible in the house. Because definitely the King James Bible is not a Bible of unity. We all know that. The Catholic Church and some others, I don't know, we don't use the King James Bible. So what makes you think that the King James Bible is an instrument of unity, that you can have it in the people's house, that belongs to everybody? So that's another mistake from these people who proposed the amendments. Now, that's why you'll see that the changes we now have are not simple cosmetic dressings by inserting just a label of a Christian state. It is indeed an overhaul of the system. Being a Christian state is not the same thing as being a secular state. The state is about the three arms of government: parliament, executive, and the judiciary. Christianity is now made the religion of the state, which was rejected by the founding fathers. Christianity, by this amendment, is the state religion. As far as the Catholic Church is concerned, the reform is a major disruption to the harmonious religious beliefs, practices, and coexistence of various religions and even Christian denominations in the country. This can become a cause of division, disunity. The reforms can lead to religious fundamentalism and fanaticism. It can happen in any religion, Islam or Christian, which can lead to intolerance, conflict.
Thank you, Sister Deji. Thank you, media personnel, and Papua New Guineans listening today. I must start by saying, declaring PNG a Christian nation is a sad day for Papua New Guinea. Very sad day. Many Papua New Guineans don't realize it. But we, the people, we, the Catholic Conference of PNG Solomon Islands, we realize it's a serious thing. It's a very sad amendment of our constitution in PNG. So I'm going to highlight why it's wrong. Why it is wrong. I'm also would like to say that the Catholic Church has been in the world for more than 2,000 years ago. We came a long way. We made our mistakes. We come, all kinds of things happen, and we know our history. And we know that whatever is done in our country is totally wrong, because there will be a lot of violence going to take place later on. So, Papua New Guineans, I think maybe it's like you don't even know what's going on when our leaders amend the constitution. Let me put it in perspective. In the recent months or recent weeks, we're talking about two important things happening in our country. We hear people in the parliament debating gender-based violence and social-related violence. It's a very hot topic in our country because we all know it's wrong. Everybody knows it's wrong. The church knows it's wrong. And we debate it, and there will be constitution made for that reason to minimize or to put away all this gender-based violence and social-related violence. There was a need, and people have to debate to try to make laws that will tackle that issue. That's good. But when the amendment of the Constitution of the PNG a Christian nation, to address what issue? Papua New Guineans, amending the Constitution, PNG a Christian nation to address what issue? Gender-based violence? Yes, we want to address an issue. Social-related violence? Yes, we want to address an issue. Marijuana traffic and all these things, we want to address an issue. But The church to Papua New Guinea a Christian nation to address what issue? PNG has been a Christian nation right from the beginning, since independence. And there was no issue. Do you all know that? To address what issue in Papua New Guinea? So, we, Catholic Conference, the declaring of PNG a Christian nation is a lot of impacts. The negative impacts are going to come. So I'm going to read out some of those things. One, faith must be a choice, not a law, to enforce people to follow Christianity. People have the right to choose their religion. That's why we feel that it's wrong. Christianity teaches that faith is a personal decision, not something to be chosen by the state. The Bible emphasizes free will, where individuals must choose to follow God out of love, not compulsion. Amending the Constitution to enforce Christianity contradicts this fundamental teaching, as faith loses their true meaning when mandated by the law. The police is going to work behind you. The mobile force is going to come behind you because to enforce the law. That's why we see it's wrong. Catholic Conference, we see it's wrong because Christianity cannot be enforced by the state or by the law or by the barrel of the gun. That's, we know it's going to be negative impact in our country. Second, there is no respect for religious freedom. Every one of us in our constitution talks about freedom of religion and conscience. When it's enforced by the law, Christianity teaches, in PNG Constitution protects freedom of thought, conscience, and religion in Section 45 of our Constitution. Declaring PNG a Christian state would undermine these rights, creating an environment where people of other faiths or different Christian denominations feel excluded. What about people of goodwill? What about those who don't even believe in God? People have a choice to make. Christianity was not forced. Jesus said in the Bible, it's up to you. You want to follow me, or if you don't want, you can go. Christianity cannot be forced. That's why we see it's wrong. Amending the Constitution to enforce Christianity, it contradicts the rights of freedom and religion. The principles of religion and freedom are rooted in Christian teaching, where Christ himself welcomed all, never forced anyone to follow him. Third point I want to raise is, history warns against religious authoritarianism. History, Catholic Church has lived here for more than 1,000 years, 2,000 plus years. We know our history. We make mistakes. We see all kinds of things along the way. So history warns us, is telling us against religious authoritarianism. Authoritarianism is come and force you to do it, whether you like it or not. History shows that when governments enforce a state religion, it often leads to oppression, division, and all kinds of violence, even persecutions. From the medieval institutions to colonial religious conflicts, the fusion of church and state has led into corruption and abuse of power. The early church thrived because it was independent of political authority. PNG must learn from history and ensure that religions remain a guiding moral force, not a political tool to enforce us to follow our religion. Let me say, for example, we Catholic Church. In the 13th century, there was a person coming up called, in Roman Empire, Constantine. He realized that the Roman colony must be Christianized. Catholicism came up, and it led to French Revolution. I wonder the politicians then know the church history or not. That led to a lot of people were killed, buildings destroyed. Thousands of people were killed because of this revolution in France. We know our history. The next point, unity in diversity. Unity in diversity means Papua New Guineans from all tribes, all corners of the country, regions, we unite as one nation, one people, one country. When this happens, there will be no unity. there will be no unity diversity. So unity means we come from different backgrounds, different religions, different region in our country. We come and unite as one Papua New Guinea. One people, one nation, one country. Just wait and see when this is enforced by the states. That's why we are against. Unity diversity. PNG is home to various Christian denominations and religious minorities. If Christianity is declared a state religion, which church will represent the nation? Which church will represent the nation? Different groups may claim legitimacy, leading to religious conflicts instead of unity. There will be coming disunity in our country. That's why Church Bishops' Conference, Catholic Bishops' Conference, we don't support this. It's going to create a lot of violence in our country as years go on. The current constitutional framework allows for peaceful coexistence and mutual respect, ensuring that all citizens are treated equally under the law. But when we enforce this law as declared Papua New Christian nation, a lot of all kinds of religious tensions are going to come up. PNG, listen, it's going to happen. Maybe we don't see it now. It's going to happen. Next point. True Christian leadership upholds justice for all. True Christian leadership upholds justice for all. That includes church leadership and political leadership. We all stand up to uphold justice for all. Every Papua New Guinean must live in peace and joy and happiness. Justice for all. Christianity calls for love, justice, and fairness. Excluding or marginalizing others based on religious contradiction and every essence of Christ's teaching, our role as Christian leaders is to promote a society where faith is freely practiced and exercised and respected by all. The best way to honor God is not by enforcing religion through law, but by living our Christian values and principles in our daily life. We do it freely. We are not enforced by the law. So, Papua New Guineans, sit down and think what the law is going to bring to us. We know that it's going to affect a lot of positive, negative impacts going to take place. As a Christian nation in spirit, PNG must uphold religious freedom and equality for all. Rather than amending the Constitution to impose Christianity, we should focus on strengthening moral and ethical values in our communities. True Christian leadership ensures that all people, regardless of their faith, are treated with dignity, respect, and love. Before I end, I am not really, I don't want to say that, but I have to say it. The founding fathers of our nation, like my grand chief, Michael Thomas Samari, and recently we said goodbye to Julius Chan. And people said nice things about these two leaders, which we all those two leaders. But those leaders who agreed on the Constitution, and they agreed on the Constitution, they agreed. And it has to be there. Why amend the Constitution? There's no reason for it.
Absolutely.
There's no reason for it.
No other. Dishonoring them.
And when we do that, parliamentarians, if you are listening, we do not respect the founding fathers of our nation.
Exactly.
Lawrence Aokiarach, the General Secretary of the Catholic Bishops' Conference of Papua New Guinea and Solomon Islands, and he will be speaking on civil society's point of view, social unity, and inclusivity. Please make welcome the third speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Daisy, and thank you all the media persons here. Also, Bishop Arto, the President of the Catholic Bishop Conference, Mr. Paul Arikinen, who is heading the Catholic professions. Once again, I think Mr. Paul Arikinen covered the history, what they went through in the process of amending this constitution Also, Bishop Otto explained what are the places where the Catholic Church is not in favor of this amendment. My question, I sincerely, when I start, I would like to thank the forefathers, the founding fathers. 50 years ago, we are actually going to celebrate the 50th independence now. 50 years ago, they already had a broad mindset, vision, to say that we respect everyone. They should have done this 50 years ago. We will make it a Christian country, which they didn't do. So they have better mindset than. Now, with all these Christian values living every day for the 50 years, we should be much better to embrace everyone. Instead of we are making it inclusive. Okay, now they say, the government says, okay, it's a Christian country, but we will respect. But when you make Christian country, already you are making it inclusive. So you are saying you are outside. My question is, first of all, we have a lot of issues in the country now, especially violence. When we come to education, health, the rural health is not really, the system is failing to support the people in the remote areas. We have so many other issues which should be a concern of the leaders of this nation. So we have a government, we have a church. Government, you have a mandatory role to look after the welfare of the people. The church will take care of the faith and moral life. So it's like we are big clashing. They have mandatory and we have a role to play. I think we need to respect each other. I'm not saying no, but you have a better role to play. So your work should be more of the livelihood of the people, how they are living with the security issues, the increase of the food prices and healthcare, education. We have classrooms without classrooms. The students are staying outside the tree and learning. So these are the important things the government should focus on. Then I feel sorry that they were going with taking so much time on the amendment of the Christian. The third issue for me, when we say government and the church, and we are complementary. You do your work, then we do our work. So we should be complementary. If we take each other's part, I think it's not fair. So I am worried about the unity of the people of Papua New Guinea in the future. We are living Christian life. We don't have any problem. Was there any problem that we need to amend this bill? If we are living faithfully, now I am worried after 50 years, how our life will be. Maybe we are saying, okay, Christian country. So this denomination is top, this denomination is down below, so we are making a division again. I am worried about the unity of the nation of Papua New Guinea. We have a great nation, we have multicultural, we have so much language, we need to respect. So when you make it a boundary, then there are people left out. So I would like to end up my words. I have a list, but I think Bishop Otto covered, Mr. Malarikan covered. I think that the church and the government should do their own role. Thank you.